Carson Palmer is here.
How old?
How long we been on each other, Carson? It's like
20 years?
Something like
20
that. Like
years.
First probably met
when you first got in the league.
02, 03, 04.
Yeah, when you first got in the league. I mean,
way back. Way back.
And you went on to have a long, amazing career with the Bengals, Raiders, and Cardinals. Really, all three franchises we could talk about, as well as your USC Trojans. As a matter of fact, let's start there. Because it's so funny. It's like, we were just talking about you. We weren't just talking about you, but I feel like the last time we talked about you was when you just happened to drop Mike Tomlin's name. I know that made a whole bunch of waves in the USC coaching search, but you ended up with Lincoln Riley. What's the feeling around the alumni, the program? What kind of energy has Lincoln Riley's hire infused into that fan base and really that entire university?
Just hype. I mean, he came out of nowhere. There wasn't even like a whisper like, oh, I think somebody so-and-so reported they might go after Lincoln Riley. Like, that never was talked about until all of a sudden the deal was done and he was on a plane heading to L.A.
Yeah.
I mean, that came out of nowhere. But just the excitement. I mean, what he's done already. I mean, he took a really bad roster, and now they're probably should be in the talks for Pac-12 championship. They'll probably may get there with Caleb Williams just transferring there.
Yeah.
The other guys they got in the portal, but just it's just like a quick energy rush. All of a sudden we got Lincoln, and my dream hire was Mike Tomlin. I played against Tomlin 20-something times. And admired him from afar and played with guys that played for him for Pittsburgh and just loved everything I heard about him. So that was my dream hire. But if I had to choose a second place, getting Lincoln Riley and the enthusiasm and the energy he's already brought to the program in February and January, whatever it was when he got hired, it's been a while. We've been down for a while. It's been a long road since Pete Carroll left. And this is the guy that can get us back to those Pete Carroll days and those championship days and the playing for a Pac-12, going to the Rose Bowl, going to the playoffs. That's something that I think is in SC's future because they got the right guy at the top.
Tomlin had such a memorable reaction.
That was worth it.
It was worth it. And I kept saying, look, with all the money in college football right now, Mike, this is not necessarily an insult to have your name out there. Do you look at USC? Because I do. I look at USC as, I mean, one of the elite, like borderline pro franchises in this town and in college sports. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Mike took it maybe as a little bit of a blow. I love Mike. I love everything I heard about him. He's a dream situation. And it may not be an NFL job, but SC can pay what NFL coaches are making. SC's got more money than, organizations or the Rooney family. So, I mean, I looked at it like, man, that would be a dream hire, getting him. He can go into any city, any state and recruit. He's got the pedigree. He
ain't got to go.
Greatest.
He can just hear his name and he goes.
Just call him. He can Zoom him. Every other coach is flying there. But, no, I just think SC's in a beautiful spot right now. The Pac-12 is down. All the football is really from the Big 12 heading to the SEC. I think maybe Lincoln saw that as a ton more competition, more pressure. You got to win sooner. You got to win your first national championship sooner. The path to national championship is through the Pac-12. It's University of Oregon, it's SC, maybe UCLA if they can get there. But the easiest path or path of least resistance is through the Pac-12. And I think that's going to be seen by all these schools going to the SEC and all these great coaches that are, going to, LSU or maybe not a non-Alabama school and realize how difficult it is to win a national championship and how much pressure there is on them from donors and from the alumni to win. The path of least resistance is on the West through the Pac-12.
What is it like for you being here with the Bengals in the Super Bowl?
It's so exciting. I mean, nobody saw this happening. You talk about this roster back in September. Nobody thought Joe was coming off an ACL. They couldn't protect him in 2020. Are they going to be able to protect him in 2021? They barely did. He got sacked 9 times against Tennessee in the AFC Championship. But there's just something magical about this team. That state of Ohio, from the north where Cleveland is, all the way down the southeast where Cincy is a desperate, rabid fan base. They are intense. They are passionate. They show up. And you go, I mean, 10 years ago when Cleveland was winning 2 and 3 games a year, the Dog Pound was sold out. That stadium was sold out. The Bengals stadium is sold out. Those fans show up. Those fans watch everything. They are into it. they are focused on the Bengals. They are focused on the Cleveland Browns in that state. And so for the Bengals to be here, the excitement in downtown Cincinnati and just all over Southern Ohio, if they can win this game, if it's the David and Goliath story. Yeah. It's the team of L.A., the glitz, the glamour. Aaron Donald's a future Hall of Famer. Andrew Whitworth, Jalen Ram. I mean, they got the best of the best at a number of positions, and you can't say that about the Bengals. They are a true underdog, true David and Goliath story. If they can win this game and take a championship trophy and do that championship parade in downtown Cincinnati, that place is going to go bananas.
I want to ask you if you are in some ways living vicariously, if you feel like they're here and representing your generation of Bengals and previous generation of Bengals. But I also do remember that, and I'm fond of saying everything ends badly, otherwise it wouldn't end. It didn't end well with the Bengals, in the retirement and the trade to the Raiders. What is your relationship with the franchise and the organization and the community?
I don't have any relationship with the franchise, but I have a great relationship. We've got great friends, folks that live in our neighborhood, went to our church, kids' school. I mean, I'm back in Cincinnati 2-3 times a year.
Okay.
But I don't have a relationship with the front office.
Gotcha. And just, you know Michael Smith for a long time. You haven't known me that long. So I just feel compelled to tell you.
Full disclosure.
I've been so critical of the Cincinnati Bengals all year long. Michael hasn't. But part of it has been the organization, saying like the organization, I think I said they don't want to win. I've criticized the scouting, the whole operation. Am I wrong? Do you think I'm wrong?
No. I think one of the best storylines is what happens the day after the Super Bowl, because the Bengals are in an interesting situation organizationally. They've got Joe Burrow, who's eligible for a new contract in 2 years. Joe Burrow's sitting there going, we got $60 million in cap space. Are they going to sit on 40 of it and frugally spend 20? Or are they going to go after and build this thing around me and build this thing around my future contract that I'm probably going to sign in 2024, 2025? Or are they happy? Are they cool with, we got to the Super Bowl, whether they win this game or not? Are they okay with that? Are they like, man, that's a win, we got to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Or are they like the L.A. Rams, pursuing and doing whatever it takes to get to the Super Bowl? Look what the Rams have done. That is the exact opposite of how the Bengals have been built, or the Bengals have never done what the Rams have done. They've traded away draft picks. They've made big splashes in free agency. They've got the best defensive tackle in the game, the best corner in the game. I mean, you can go across that roster, and how those guys got here is not just sitting in the draft and hoping somebody falls to them.
Yeah.
They have pursued the pieces that they've added to the puzzle. So I think they're in an interesting spot. I mean, I think Joe's going to sit back after this game, win or lose, be like, man, am I going to re-sign with this team? Are they willing to do what it takes to continuously build to get back to the next Super Bowl next year and the year after that and the year after that? How are they willing to structure salary cap wise to be able to afford me, but to also be able to afford Jamar Chase when he comes up, or T. Higgins, or maybe even redo this offensive line that's given up a league leading 54 sacks, I believe, this year. That's an issue. And I know it's easy to say, well, that's the offensive line that got him to the Super Bowl. But Joe's not thinking about this one Super Bowl. Joe is thinking about getting 7.
Yeah.
He's got 7 on his radar because that's the number he needs to beat. And he knows that in order for him to re-sign, he's got a ton of leverage.
Yeah.
And this organization needs to show they're going to beef up the scouting department, something I wasn't able to get done when I ran through that wall that I ran through.
And you wanted to. You wanted them to do that. Is that one of the things you put on the list?
Yeah, I mean, I was dumb. I didn't have it put on paper. I didn't have, you need to hire a GM, you need to improve the scouting department, you need to get our facilities up to par with everybody else's. We need, every other team has chiropractors and physical, all these different things. And there was a verbal agreement. Joe needs to get that on paper. They need to show and prove that they are willing to do what it takes to get Joe 7 or Chase 7 the next Super, whatever that is. And they that if history is any sign of repeating itself, then Joe's in an interesting situation in 2 years when he's up for a contract. If they haven't fortified that offensive line, if they haven't spent all the money they had, they got $58 million in cap space. Are they going to go out and use it correctly, or are they going to sit on half of it?
Is this really a new day? Sidebar. Excuse me for a second.
Sidebar.
I've never been more proud of a question that we've asked? I'm so glad you asked that question. That was fascinating because I'm just sitting there like in awe of the wisdom, because it wasn't that long ago when you were Joe Burrow,
right.
number one overall pick.
Right.
The world is ahead of you. Your entire career ahead of you. You got TJ and Chad and
number one overall pick. The whole thing.
The whole thing. And it's like you're sitting here like I'm like this dude knows what this dude knows what he's talking about. He's literally he's seen this movie before. He didn't go all the way to the Super Bowl with him, but you knew how much potential that wasn't realized. That's fascinating. While we got you, I want to get you on this mystery that's unfolding in the desert.
Wow.
Another organization
franchises
that you helped turn around and helped deliver some success to in Arizona. I don't know. You like me, you're a family man. You ain't got time to be on social media. But apparently Kyler Murray scrubbed his social media of all things Cardinals. Hasn't said what it is or isn't. Did your Spidey sense say that there's some kind of discontent going on there, or is it just his contract's not done yet? What's up there?
It's a contract play.
Okay.
I mean, typically when you see that, it's a ploy. He had a ton of leverage going into that first playoff game. He had all the leverage because he's available for a new contract. He can sign a new one. And leverage was on his side, and when leverage is on your side as a player, you've got to strike while the iron's hot because you can lose it quickly. Sure enough, he walked on that SoFi Stadium field and didn't play well, and the team didn't play well, and they got beat in the first round of the playoffs by the Rams, and he lost a ton of leverage. Now, I'm not saying that they're not going to re-sign him. They have to re-sign him. They don't have a choice. They drafted a number one. They've been through quarterback purgatory for a majority of their organization's life. They know how integral that piece is. They know what it's like to now have a franchise quarterback. So they've got to sign him. Kyler lost some money in that playoff game. All he had to do was just play. They didn't have to win. He just had to play well, and he did not play well. So, I'm sure they're using that leverage that they got in that playoff game. Kyler's still trying to hold on the leverage that he has, and it's just a contract ploy. I mean, he knows they got to re-sign him. He's just trying to, maximize his dollars, and they know they've got to re-sign him. They don't want to go back and the Josh Rosen experiment that they drafted him number 10 out of UCLA and then traded. Like, they don't want to go back through that. Michael Bidwell does not want to do that. But now they got some leverage on their side because he played poorly in that playoff game and down the stretch of the end of the year.
Yeah. And I said to Mike yesterday, what are they missing just offensively? Because we were talking about putting more around them, but they put a lot of things around them. If you look at them, what do you think they're missing? Because they seem, offensively at least, they seem to have everything. Defense was pretty good. What's missing from that team, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, as soon as DeAndre Hopkins went down, everything changed. Yeah. I mean, their production fell off, a cliff, unfortunately. I think they need another piece on the outside. They need a complement to him. Christian Kirk's a great player. He's a really great number 3. They need a legit number 2. So a guy that you can move around the slot. A.J. Green had a good year, but A.J. Green's at the end of his career. So they need to go out and get somebody that can catch 60, 70 balls and convert 40 or 50 third downs on 3rd and 4 or 5 plus. That's what they need. They've got the deep threat. They've got the number 1 target in DeAndre. They also could use a tight end, and whether they re-sign Ertz or not, we don't know. Ertz came on and did really well. A lot of that is because DeAndre went down. Ertz's production went up after they made that trade. But from Kyler's perspective, it's kind of like what we're talking about with Joe. Joe needs to see the Bengals are willing to do, like the Bengals or the Cardinals. As soon as DeAndre went down, they went out and traded for Zach Ertz. They brought in DeAndre Hopkins, a real threat when Larry was gone. Like, they've shown him, hey, we're willing to build this thing. We're chasing this thing. So from an organizational standpoint, in Kyler's eyes, he's looking at this thing going, this organization is willing to do. They're trying to get better. Now, they need to add a couple pieces up front. They got to figure out what they're going to do with Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones is a free agent. Chandler Jones has been as productive of a defensive end as we've seen in decades. So they got to figure that part out. They've got some nice pieces on defense. They need to find Patrick Peterson's replacement. They haven't been able to do that since he left for Minnesota last year. So there's some pieces they need to add. They're not picking in the top 10. They've got a little bit of salary cap space, so they need to go out. It's not a one thing. It's not we got to get a left tackle, or it's not we got to get a receiver. They need a handful of pieces to continue because they got Seattle, who's going to be coming back with a vengeance.
The Rams and the
49ers. You got the. I mean, they're in a division that's for real that has not been for real for a little bit. I mean, it's really been Seattle and Arizona's division, but the 49ers are for real. And
Rams are here.
The Rams are here, so they've got some moves to make this offseason for sure.
I still can't get over it. Like, you don't understand which the bombshell you just dropped in our relationship about the Bengals. Because after listening to Carson, maybe you were right all along.
Okay, thank you. This guy has been wearing me out all year. He's been wearing me out all year.
Quick backstory.
Because you believed in the Bengals all year?
Quick backstory. We got time. We got a few minutes. Quick backstory. Okay. So this goes back to the draft.
Right.
And when they drafted Jamar Chase, the logic was, hey, protect Joe Burrow towards ACL last year. They, got hit a bunch his rookie year. Draft Penei Sewell. When they didn't, I was like, well, they got other rounds of the draft. I was like, this guy is special. And so Mike went on this rant about certain organizations just don't want to win. They just don't want to win. And I'm like, I think that's a stretch. I was like, listen, I can't speak from experience. But I'm like, I think
really zoned in on them.
Yeah, it was he's an Akron, Ohio guy.
I grew up in Ohio.
And a Steelers fan as a kid.
But it had nothing to do with it.
No, it had nothing to do with it, but it was the Bengals' history. So I ended up saying, like, listen, I think it's more about certain teams want to win their way, and they want to do things the way they've always been done. Doesn't mean they don't want to win, or it's an extreme. So I adopted the Bengals all season. And it became a running gag with us.
Good
and it was my team.
And so when they got to the Super Bowl, I was
but the way you just broke that down, I'm like, well, damn,
how did this happen?
But now the real test is moving forward, which I love. You came bearing gifts.
I did. I brought you guys some Level Select CBD.
Yeah, tell us about this.
Gifts for you. Those are free if you go on levelselectcbd.com right now. You can type in the coupon code Carson40. You get 40% off of everything on the site. This keeps me going. I'm 42 years old. I've got injuries, surgeries, back pain, all coaching my kids' football team, playing golf with my daughter. I still like chasing my kids around, being active, being outside, skiing, all those things. Level Select CBD has enabled me to continue to be outside, to continue to be active, continue to work out, chase kids, play football, all the things I get to do with my family. Level Select's been a big part of that.
What if you're just out of shape? This
it won't get you in shape.
Oh, no?
But it will make your body feel better to go into the gym without aches and pains.
Okay, that second part I work on it. But thank you. In the meantime, I do have this. Carson Palmer, man, it's so good to see you.
Great seeing you.
Michael, it's been too long.
Best to the family. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.